Good afternoon, YouTube. Hardball Crazy have come back a video. Today, on my day off, I'm going to look at some baseball cards and share some knowledge. As you see by the title, Untapped Market. I believe this is a bit of an untapped market in the hobby world, or just in baseball fandom in general. The average fan don't know too much about these players. And I'm going to try to share some knowledge on them. There's several different baseball card markets, of course. There's the modern day market, which is the king. We want that to be the king, to be honest, because even though if you prefer vintage, the modern day market is what brings new collectors into the world. They watch the players on TV or in person, wherever. They want to collect the players they get. They see the packs and cards they at the shows and retail spots and hobby shops and wherever they are at these days, and they buy the packs and they collect them, and hopefully they have fun with it. Yes, fun, not so much money, but fun. But at a certain point, as you become a bigger fan of baseball and baseball cards in general, you kind of graduate towards vintage and learn about the older players, the older sets, and so forth. And after that, you kind of, I like to say, you get a PhD. Then you get, if you prefer, if you want to, you get your PhD in the pre-war cards, which is a whole different animal in itself, and a lot to learn there. And there's also the Japanese baseball card market, where baseball's king in Japan, the number one sport in Japan. And there's a lot between vintage and modern day to collect. Super popular cards. And whether you're collecting modern day players like Ichiro and Hideki Matsui and Seiya Suzuki and so forth, or the old guys like Sadairo, Shigeo Nagashima, Nomura, Hiramoto, etc., etc., etc. That's a whole different market itself. But there's another bit of a market that's kind of been untapped, I guess. Another country where the sport, baseball is the number one sport, is Cuba. I have some Cuba cards in my collection here. They're plain days cards, and which is my preference. And I recently asked on the interwebs some Cuban baseball historians and experts who are the best players that play in Cuba that never play the major leagues, excluding the Negro Leaguers, of course. And they gave me some lists. I had knew of some of the players, and some players I did not. And I had cards of several of the players. And I'm going to show you those said cards. Of course, you know about the Cubans in recent years, the defecting since Orlando and Livan Hernandez, Ray Ordonez, Jonas Cespedes, Jose Abreu, and so forth. You know about the Cubans who came to the U.S. prior to Fidel Castro taking over, who became Hall of Famers and greats, like Manny Minoso, Tony Oliva, Louis Tiant, and many others. And there's, of course, the Negro League Cuban Hall of Famers like Martin de Higo and Cristobal Torriante and others. But there's also the greats who never made it in the major leagues. Played during the Fidel Castro era. They decided, for whatever reason, to stay in Cuba, whether it's they had no opportunity or they had the opportunity to defect, but they prefer to stay home, whether for security, fear of the unknown, fear actually of the defection itself, the stardom they have and the wealth they have, popularity they have in their home country, the love of their own home country. Does that make them any less of a players? No, these are great players in their own right. And I'm going to show you some of the great, tell you about some of the great players that I know of, that I learned of, that have cards of. First of all, the first player you start out with is Omar Lanaras, third baseman. He won many, many gold medals for the 80s and 90s and in Cuba and in international competitions, Pan Am Games, gold medal games, and so forth. And U.S., I think some teams in the U.S. tried to lure him into to play in the major leagues, but he's decided to stay in Cuba. This set here is a 1994 Cuban professional set, Cuban Select League. This is the only year they made cards from these party these players, and They was printed in Canada. I can't know what company produced them, but you can see there's several teams. Oxidales, Omar Lanaras, third baseman. And he ended his career. He ended up playing a little bit in Japan towards the end of his career. And there is a BBM card of Mr. Lanaras, to add to my Omar Lanaras collection. The greatest home run hitter of the era is Orestes Quintilon. So next up is the second baseman of the same Industriales national team, with first baseman Quintilon, third baseman Lanaras. The second baseman is Antonio Pacheco, who was a great hitter. Always hit 300 or better, even 400 a few times in the international competitions. But he's also highly regarded as the leader. His nickname was the captain of captains. Post-playing days, he was became a manager in Cuba, and he may still be, I'm not sure, but for the last several years, he has been a coach in the New York Yankee system in the down the rookie leagues, lower rookie leagues, the minor leagues. Next up is a shortstop from that same era, same Industriales team, international team, is Hermann Meissa. He is the slick fielding shortstop. Not much power, but a great defender, good hitter. And Ray Ordonez of the Mets, one reason why he defected to the U.S. is because he was blocked by Hermann Meissa on the national team, so he just got his fame in the U.S. while Meissa stayed great in Cuba. By the way, all these players, Lanaras is a little bit more expensive because people know about it a little bit more. You can pick up all these cards really, really cheap in this Cuba team. The only expensive ones is probably Lanaras, expensive being like $10 maybe. But the two biggest ones, the cards in set, is the Hernandez brothers, Levan, Orlando Hernandez. They're the two biggest cards. The rest of these cards you could probably pick up for less than $1, $2 maybe, somewhere in that ballpark. Super, super duper cheap. Of course, the modern day Cubans, you know of the current Gurriel brothers in the major leagues. There's a Lourdes Gurriel rookie card, a gold rookie card, and a Yuli Gurriel jersey card from 2006 World WBC. Of course, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., his father, is Lourdes Gurriel Sr. He's a legend in his own right in Cuba. Great player. If you also a big family in Cuba with a player making the major leagues, is if you remember him, if you collect long enough, you're a long-time Orioles fan, is Henry Urrutia. Hope I pronounced his name right. I can't remember vaguely remember watching play, left-handed hitter, outfielder. His dad, Hermedillo Urrutia, is a Cuban star. And his cousin, Yosmani Urrutia, is the last player to hit 400 in the Cuban League. This is another 2006 WBC jersey card of him. I think I picked this card out for like $5 or so. So cards are not expensive. These cards will not break the bank. If you want to add to your collection and not break the bank, this is a good way. Victor Meissa, his sons are prospects of Marlins system. I think Victor Meissa Jr. or Victor Meissa. One of them might be getting close to debuting with the Marlins. Both the Marlins outfielders. I think one might be projected debut next year. He's outfielder's own right, but a flashy player and speed guy, Victor Meissa. Next up is perhaps the greatest catcher in Cuban baseball history, at least during this era, is Ariel Pastano. Here's a jersey card from 2006 WBC. And I picked up this 1994 Cuban set of Pastano. Basically, like his rookie card. As you see in the backs of these cards, it has a little brief bio in English and Spanish and some stats. And you see with Pastano, it doesn't have much in terms of stats, being early in his career. But if you look at his stats a little bit more, and like tell a little bit, read about them and learn about them. Players. The last two I'm going to talk about is basically post 1994 Cuban set. These are American issued cards. It came first year of the WBC. This player Frederick Cepeda. So the upper deck WBC card is like a pink or purple insert. He's like the all-time leader in WBC in terms of like 3 offensive categories: hits, runs, and one other one I can't think of the top of my head. No relation to Orlando Cepeda, but he played a little bit in Japan too, I believe. But he's a Cuban great. The last one I'm going to show you is Cuban power hitter. It's a Bowman Chrome refractor from 2009, and of Cuban power hitter. Was a star in Cuba and Cuban International Series. Home run records. Went to Japan, became a star there, and I think he recently retired. Alfredo Despaigne. There you have it. If you want to start a Cuban baseball collection and start some Cuban baseball greats, I think you should start with some of these players here. These cards are readily available. Omar Lanaras, it might be a little tougher to find, but I think it is pretty easy to get, to be honest. Nothing's going to break your bank. Ideally, in the future, I would actually love if the WBC becomes more and more popular, where it's looked forward to and looked upon, much like the World Cup or the Ryder Cup, the Olympics, or so forth. And in the far future, I would love if like the Baseball Hall of Fame would actually have like an international wing. So we go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, because I believe baseball is very much an international sport. Or maybe there's a WBC Hall of Fame or museum and so forth, where we can learn about all the greats of baseball from outside of the U.S., not just for the WBC, not just Cuba, but Japan, like Sadaro and Nagashima, the other stars, like Winter League stars, some greats from like Mexican League and the Puerto Rican Winter Leagues and Cuban Winter Leagues and Cuban national teams. Kind of get people learn about how rich history baseball has in multiple countries. I'd love to have that to happen some point. But rambled on long enough. This is my Cuban baseball card collection of players who never made the major leagues, and always learning about other great players, because baseball is an international sport, and I collect internationally. Thank you for watching. I'll have a good afternoon.